A familiar heartbeat could be echoing through Allen Park again. The kind that steadies a huddle and flips a cold January drive into 6. You're on Lions News Fan Report, and you know what that means. I'm bringing you the latest updates and real rumors of our beloved team, with honest context from inside the building vibes and the hard numbers that tell you where this roster is truly heading. Tonight I'm laying out why the front office has quietly recentered its attention on fortifying the interior, what the calendar and the cap actually allow, how one veteran with Detroit DNA changes protection rules on 3rd and long, and what the risk really is if roles shift this late. I'll show you the timeline, the fit, the price, the counter-argument, and the dominoes it pushes across the offense. And only at the end, when the picture is clear, I'll tell you exactly where I stand on pulling the trigger. First, let's be straight about how we got here. The Lions built this identity on trench truth: win the A-gaps, stay on schedule, let Jared operate. But the season doesn't care about plans. Frank Ragno's retirement forced a rewire. Graham Glasgow moved into the nerve center and earned that trust back. Tate Ratledge had to grow up fast on the right, and then the body blows started landing. When Christian Mahogany hit injured reserve, it wasn't just a name. It was a lever that dropped 2 rooms at once: run game timing and pocket firmness. Detroit can patch for a week, sure, but the NFL is a 3-month war where every Sunday the league finds your weakest seam and pulls. I watched this interior battle closely the last 2 weeks. Protection sliding, backs chipping, receivers throttling routes a tick shorter to respect timing. It works, but you feel the strain. This is why, inside personnel meetings, the conversation turned from depth to difference. There's a difference between elevating a floor and hardening a ceiling, and contenders don't confuse the two in November. Zoom out to the market. Tennessee is spiraling, stuck at the bottom, coaching turnover, young quarterback learning live, and a locker room that needs reps to evaluate building blocks. That's the environment where teams on 1-year veteran deals ask hard questions about snaps versus future value. Detroit, meanwhile, is in the sweet spot. You don't chase splashes to win the press conference. You buy small edges that pay off on the road in January. That's the equation where a reunion starts to make real football sense. And now the name that's been humming under everything, Kevin Zeitler, a pro's pro, the kind of lineman who shows up like a metronome, anchors a right-side double team, and talks more about footwork than noise. He fit here. The cadence felt right here. The chemistry with the room, Sewell's tempo, Glasgow's communication, the way the tight ends fold into combination blocks made Detroit's run concept hit on time. And yes, he took the 1-year bag in Nashville, which every veteran with mileage and pride has the right to do. But the tape is the tape. His game is still leverage, still hand placement, still the stubborn refusal to give up a clean inside edge. Would that help this version of the Lions? You know the answer in your gut. Now the mechanics. With the trade window shut, pathways narrow, but they don't vanish. If a losing team pivots to youth and decides to release a veteran, waivers open a door. If that door opens, the financials aren't complicated. A 1-year number is digestible for a contender if you believe it swings a playoff possession. And next spring, if you miss now, it isn't necessarily over. Relationships matter in March, and Detroit already knows exactly what it's buying. But let's not pretend it's a zero-risk ad. Zeitler is a career right guard, and the current stress point has lived on the left since Mahogany's injury. That means somebody bends, Ratledge learning left on the fly, Zeitler flipping sides after a decade as a right-hand stance machine, or Detroit choosing to solve it with stability on the right and compensating with help left. There's no perfect path in November. There's only the version that creates the most clean platforms for Jared when it matters most. But counter-argument says, don't disrupt growth. Let the rookies take their lumps and peak in December. I respect that. Development is real currency. But a contender's responsibility is both, and stack wins today and grow tomorrow's core. The coaching staff has already proven it can do that dance. We've watched it for 2 seasons straight. If you bring Zeitler in, you're not moving the address. You're adding a lock to the front door. Tactically, here's how it helps. On wide zone, the front side double with Sewell becomes secure, which lets Ben Johnson call it on any down without leaning on condensed splits to fake leverage. On duo, the vertical displacement inside gets cleaner, which helps Montgomery get downhill and Gibbs choose violence or daylight without second guessing. In protection, the biggest gain is boring. firm B gap on 3rd and 6. When defenses mud the A's and twist, a veteran who's seen 1,000 games doesn't overset the looper. He squeezes, passes, and keeps the quarterback in rhythm. That turns pray for a DPI into hit the 12-yard dig on time. It's not highlight tape, it's playoff football structure. And here's something I care about that film rooms sometimes underrate: locker room oxygen. When you add a guy like Zeitler in November, he isn't walking in to give speeches. He's walking in to lower blood pressure. You feel it in meetings, in the huddle. When the crowd starts roaring on 3rd and long, your guard looks to the center and they both nod like they've been here. That matters when your margin is a single protection pickup on Wild Card Weekend. What about the health picture around him? Sewell's dings, Decker managing, Ratledge battling through, Glasgow holding the glue job at center. This is where a result-oriented front office earns its paycheck. If you act, you're signaling to the room that the season is trusted to veterans. If you wait, you're betting that continuity beats experience. Both are defensible. The reason Zeitler keeps landing back on my board is because he scratches both itches. He builds continuity fast precisely because he's done it here. Money and math, contained. 1 year structure isn't handcuffing 2026. Draft capital? Not in play unless there's a waiver fight. At most, you're spending cash and a roster spot. Scheme? Seamless. The risk lies in the human details, flipping sides, timing, and whether you believe. Ratledge's learning curve is better accelerated by fighting through reps or by seeing perfect technique next to him every day and copying it. Before I tell you where I land, I want to hear it. If Tennessee opens the exit and this becomes real, would you absorb a late season adjustment to get that veteran assurance? Would you keep Ratledge right and let Zeitler do what he does best, then protect left with slides and tight end help? Or would you force the left side experiment because the need screams there today? Drop it below, I read you, and the room does too. My take is simple. If the window is open, you harden the hinges. I bring Kevin Zeitler back the first legal hour it's possible, not because it sells jerseys, not because it's a comfortable story, but because it turns 3rd downs into 1st downs when the air is thin and the hits add up. It protects your franchise quarterback's timing. It restores the personality of your run game, and it gives a young right guard a living clinic 6 inches to his left or right. The cost is sane, the fit is real, and the upside shows up in a place you only notice when it's gone, the quiet in your quarterback's feet. If Tennessee keeps him fine, make the call again in March. But if the door cracks in the next news cycle, I'm stepping through it. Let me lock this in with a concise read. The move is calculated, veteran, and playoff shape, and it wouldn't change who we are. It would make who we are harder to break. Tell me your plan in the comments. And if you want this kind of straight, fast update every time a roster domino wobbles, stick with Lions News Fan Report. Hit that subscribe. Drop a like so this reaches more of the One Pride family, and keep your notifications on. Because when the next piece shakes loose, I'll be right here with the truth of what it means.